Whatever the influence, these scenes came to fruition thanks to a most surprising source, proving the multifaceted means through which an unforgettable movie scene can be assembled. And so, the next time your brain tells you that a scene feels a little bit familiar, there's a good chance you're actually not overthinking it at all. What a world, eh? Gareth here from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 movie scenes with unexpected influences. Number 10, the fight scenes were influenced by anime, Creed 3. If you know much at all about Michael B. Jordan, you'll probably be aware that he's a huge fan of anime. And so when he took to the directing chair for the recent Creed 3, he opted to impart a little anime influence on the movie's stylish boxing fight scenes. For the fight choreography, Jordan looked to the likes of Megalobox, Naruto, One Piece, Hajime no Ippo, and Dragon Ball Z to give the brutal slugfest a more heightened, surreal look. One memorable example occurs during the final battle between Donnie and Dame Anderson, where Donnie takes a colossally hefty gut punch from Dame, as is framed to resemble the episode where Goku delivers a devastating meteor smash to Frieza. Jordan has also confirmed that the beat where Donnie and Dame punch each other in the face at the exact same time was lifted from Naruto, where Naruto and Sasuke have done the very same thing to one another numerous times. And yet, despite this unexpected and outlandish influence, Jordan thankfully doesn't end up making Creed 3's fight scenes too cartoonish for their own good. Number 9, Thanos' interrogation of the Collector was borrowed from Snatch, Avengers Infinity War. In Avengers Infinity War, Thanos' pursuit of the Reality Stone inevitably leads him to the Collector, where the Mad Titan asks him, "Where is the stone?" It might seem like a simple, straightforward line of dialogue, yet this is in fact a reference to the opening scene from Guy Ritchie's classic crime comedy Snatch. In the sequence, Benicio del Toro's character Frankie Fourfingers memorably takes part in a diamond heist while dressed as an Orthodox Jew, and repeatedly asks one of the Diamond Exchange's employees, "Where is this stone?" If you're still not convinced, listen to the two lines back to back. In Snatch, Del Toro speaks the line with a distinctly playful musical tone, which is imitated near perfectly by Josh Brolin in Infinity War. Evidently, the Russo brothers must be big fans of Ritchie's sublime second feature, such that they couldn't resist including a nod to it in their superhero epic. And yet it's just sly enough to fly over the heads of anyone who isn't a Snatch superfan. Marvelous! Number 8, Fat Ass's beating was based on the Rodney King videotape, The Shawshank Redemption. One of the many traumatic scenes in The Shawshank Redemption sees an unnamed prisoner referred to and credited as Fat Ass get beaten to death by the psychopathic guard Byron Hadley. But in order to stage a sufficiently unnerving sequence, writer-director Frank Darabont took inspiration from a horrifying act of real-life violence: the 1991 assault of a black American man, Rodney King, by LAPD officers, as was famously caught on video and eventually led to the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Darabont felt that there was a power to the distinct viewpoint of the King video, keeping the audience far from the incident itself, and so decided to film Fat Ass's murder the exact same way. And so the scene is shot from afar with a telephoto lens, cutting only to show the concerned faces of the other inmates watching the assault, rather than opting for a more cinematic attack filled with cuts and close-ups. Number 7, Charlton Heston's eye patch was inspired by Nick Fury, True Lies. James Cameron's ludicrously entertaining spy actioner True Lies boasts one hell of a stacked ensemble cast, including an inexplicably eye-patch-clad Charlton Heston in the role of Spencer Trilby, the surly head of US counterterrorism outfit Omega Sector. Heston only has a few brief scenes in the film, but makes quite the impression regardless, no doubt aided by the curious aesthetic choice of the eye patch. Even for the film's pulpy standards, it feels a tad out of place, yet makes a little more sense when you consider that Cameron is a huge fan of comic books, and even flirted with becoming a comic book penciler in his youth. As it turns out, Trilby's eye patch and overall gruff personality were inspired by the original pre-Samuel L. Jackson iteration of Marvel's Nick Fury, another eye patch wearing head of a peacekeeping organization. Given that so much of the film's over-the-top action feels like a glorious cartoon strip, it's fitting that Cameron drew from classic Marvel for one of True Lies' most prominent supporting characters. Number 6, Saruman's death was based on Christopher Lee's life, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. Saruman's death in the third and final Lord of the Rings movie is absolutely unforgettable. He's stabbed in the back by Wormtongue, falls from Orthanc and is fatally impaled on spikes below. What a way to go, eh? Yet the moment that Wormtongue plunges his blade into Saruman's chest was influenced by a most unexpected source: actor Christopher Lee's own experiences with death in World War II. In a hilarious behind-the-scenes video, Jackson and reportedly explained that the director was detailing to Lee how he wanted the actor to scream in reaction to the stabbing, at which point Lee interjected and corrected him. Having witnessed such a murder firsthand in war, Lee told Jackson that Saruman shouldn't scream, but rather let out a sharp exhalation due to the breath being driven out of his body by the blade. And so, in his own words, Jackson didn't push the subject any further, satisfied that Lee knew how to give a persuasive performance for Saruman's death scene, which of course, he absolutely did. Number 5, Las Vegas was modelled off the 2009 Australian dust storm, Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is one of the most visually stunning movies of all time, and rightly won Roger Deakins his first Best Cinematography Oscar. One of the film's most memorable sequences occurs late in the story, when Replicant K heads to Las Vegas and crosses paths with Deckard. The city is bathed in a glorious orange fog as K makes his way to Deckard's location, and while it's easy to assume that Deakins, director Denis Villeneuve, and production designer Dennis Gassner came up with this surreal, seemingly unrealistic aesthetic choice on their own, it's actually got some fascinating real-life inspiration. The trio were influenced by the 2009 Australian dust storm, which caused Sydney to be blanketed by dirt and soil, resulting in the city temporarily having an apocalyptic orange hue. Of the choice, Deakins said, "We discussed it at length, and we came up with these images of Sydney during the dust storm that they had a few years ago. There are these wonderful photos of the Sydney Opera House and it's covered with red dust. That formed the basis for Las Vegas, and a beautiful looking one at that." Number 4, the whole movie is based on an Eddie Murphy skit, Get Out. Jordan Peele's Oscar-winning horror film Get Out is such a singular piece of work, yet the movie's title and base concept were actually inspired by a very specific source. An iconic skit from Eddie Murphy's immensely popular 1983 stand-up show Delirious. Murphy's legendary unforgettable bit sees him talking about classic horror movies Poltergeist and the Amityville Horror, and asking why white people don't just leave the house when they find a ghost that bellows, "Get out!" Murphy hilariously makes it clear that he'd be out the door in record time, and repeats the refrain, "Get the F out," throughout the monologue. Now, Peele evidently couldn't have gotten away with calling his movie Get the F Out, but all the same, it's Murphy who deserves unexpected credit for inspiring both the title and central premise of Peele's ferociously entertaining satirical horror flick. Hell, Peele even admitted that he considered casting Murphy in the role of protagonist Chris himself, though ultimately and rightly decided he was too old for the part, and cast the much younger, eventually Oscar-nominated Daniel Kaluuya instead. Number 3, the rooftop battle was inspired by a Left 4 Dead level, Hardcore Henry. The finale to the buck-wild sci-fi action flick Hardcore Henry takes place at the HQ of the villainous Akon, as Henry battles his way through the facility to the roof for a final showdown with Akon and his remaining goons. Some video game fans soon enough noted distinct similarities between the movie's rooftop and a level from the hit multiplayer video game Left 4 Dead, namely the hospital roof section at the very end of the No Mercy campaign. And in a 2021 Reddit AMA, director Ilya Naishuller was asked about the suspicious aesthetic similarities of the two set pieces, and indeed confirmed that he was directly influenced by the iconic video game. Naishuller said, "Absolutely intentional, I love Left 4 Dead, some of my very fondest multiplayer memories. So I showed my production designer the No Mercy Hospital rooftop finale as a reference for the Hardcore Henry finale. Video games once again influencing big screen cinema, you love to see it." Number 2, the Mona Lisa's destruction was influenced by Mr. Bean, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Knives Out sequel Glass Onion unforgettably climaxes with hero Helen Brand triggering an explosion which ends up destroying not only Miles Bron's lush compound, but also the Mona Lisa, which Bron had in his home on loan from the Louvre. Yet Rian Johnson's Oscar-nominated script actually had inspiration from a most unexpected source: the 1997 Mr. Bean movie simply titled Bean. Even those who've never seen Bean will surely be familiar with the iconic scene where Mr. Bean sneezes on James Abbott McNeill Whistler's 1871 painting Whistler's mother, and only further defaces the priceless piece of art when he tries to clean it. On Empire's Spoiler Special podcast, Johnson confirmed that, as a big fan of that scene, it was firmly in his mind when writing Glass Onion's incendiary finale. As he put it, Daniel Craig was a bit worried that we were killing the puppy by upsetting people as we destroyed the Mona Lisa, but the scene in Bean where he destroys Whistler's mother is one of the funniest scenes in cinematic history, so I figured we'd get away with this. That scene is so good. He's not wrong, you know. Number 1, Deirdre Beaudeirdre is modelled after a real person. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Jamie Lee Curtis just won a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her performance as crotchety IRS Inspector Deirdre Beaubeirdre in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And Deirdre's enough of a cartoon character that you probably assume she was concocted entirely out of thin air by filmmakers The Daniels. But as it turns out, The Daniels took inspiration for Deirdre's eccentric choice of wardrobe from a very real human being. A 2005 stock image of an actual IRS worker by the name of Kathleen Malone. Hilariously, Deirdre's entire look is lifted almost wholesale from the picture. The yellow turtleneck and knit vest, necklace, glasses, and even their hairstyle are close to identical. It's certainly a distinctive look, enough that nobody watching the movie could have ever guessed that it'd actually be inspired by the wares of a real-life IRS employee. At least the Cincinnati branch of the IRS evidently lets their employees wear some colour in an otherwise drab office environment, right? Every cloud, eh? And that's our list. Know of any other movie scenes with unexpected influences? Then let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you're a fan of this sort of unexpected stuff, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I have been Gareth from whatculture.com. Cheers for stopping on by. Hopefully you'll make it a habit. Now go and be undeniably awesome. Bye bye.